I know every time I make one of these videos, because this is going to be part 9, every time I make one of these videos, I say that the trend can't get any creepier, and someone uploads a new video and says, hold my sage. For these next stories, go ahead and light a candle, maybe two. You'll need it. What's good? What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. Welcome back to the Mystic Muse, where we dive into the creepy, the conspiracy, and the downright strange. Welcome back to the Mystic Muse on this rainy day. It's very gloomy outside, but I'm very warm. And over here with the Mystic Muse, we sip our tea, we mind our business, and apparently accidentally summon nightmares through TikTok compilations. Yeah, y'all been sending me some crazy emails. But I love them. Don't stop sending them. Don't forget to send in your creepy stories for the next podcast episode because I need some more. Again, this is part 9 of the Audacity Creep Fest, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. Per usual, we got ghosts doing too much, shadows lurking every which way, and spirits popping up like it's a Halloween exhibit. So sit down, relax, and grab your protection oils and maybe some crystals from the shop while you're at it. Because when I say these spirits get disrespectful in some of the spookiest ways, you're gonna love it. So let's go ahead and get into this creepy compilation, only if you dare.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
Hi, so I have another ghost story. If you've seen my other ones, then welcome. If not, cool. So the house that I used to live in growing up as a teenager, I everybody said it was haunted, and I mean they weren't wrong. I feel like that house was a passageway for different spirits to come in and out. I don't feel like it was ever the same spirit just haunting. And maybe it's me, I don't know. But anyways, this one particular night, I'm in my bedroom. I close the door to my room because my mom is in the dining room. She's she's has the music on and is just, hanging out over there, whatever. So I make sure I close the door. I go and lay down. This particular night, I didn't put like a night light on or anything. Usually I like to sleep with some kind of light on because I've just had way too many experiences at night, you know, um, in the dark. So I am a little scared of the dark. Um, and this night I was like, whatever, I'll be fine. I'm just going to sleep. I'll be okay. And I didn't put a nightlight on. So anyways, I go to sleep and I'm turn around to like, so my bed is like this, right? Like on my head is this way, my feet are back there or that way. My closet door is over here. My bedroom door is over there, like further down over there. I turn towards my closet. Um and I'm falling asleep, but I'm still not fully there. I'm half asleep, half awake type of deal. And I hear my door. My door used to creak when you would open it. It would go like, right? The little creepy creak. So my door, I hear it. I hear the knob, and I hear the door open, go, right? And I'm like, try. I open my eyes a little bit because I just feel so drained. I can't move. I'm stuck. I can't move. But I'm trying to open my eyes. I open my eyes a little bit, and it's my mom walking in my room. So I'm like, okay. So she's walking in my room. She walks to my bed, to the side of my bed where I'm facing the wall. Okay, she walks to that side. So she's walking. She gets in front of me, right where my face is at. She gets in front of me. She goes like this. And as she goes like this, she's looking at me and her eyes start to come out. Like they're bulging out of her face. And she's just looking at me and she has this stare like she hates me so much. And her eyes are just bulging out of her face. I can't move. And my face starts getting hot. I'm turning so hot. I can't move. I feel like I'm burning. Okay. And I just see her face, right? She's right here, and her eyes are just protruding out of her face. So I'm like this. I can see, but I can't fully see. But I see her and I feel her. I could feel her breathing on my face, and I can see her eyeballs out of her face. And I feel, like I said, I'm burning up. I can't move. Finally, I go ahead and I close my eyes and I start praying. I start saying the Lord's Prayer, okay? Just over and over and over again. And mind you, I'm not even very religious, but that's what I did. And after I did that, I start hearing the window shaking, just trembling. And I start feeling my bed trembling and then the window shaking. And then it goes away. And immediately I can move again. As soon as I can move again, I get up, I shoot up, and I look. My bedroom door is cracked open. And I look, and my mom's she's in the dining room drinking and hanging out with whoever was over and has the music on. I don't know what that was, but I know it wasn't my mom.
Me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
I was debating on talking about this because I don't want to sound crazy, one, but two, I know I'm not the only person who's seen this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start. So when I was about 9 or 10, me and my mom were sitting at the kitchen table talking, and I had the view of the living room, and then I could also see into the entryway of the hallway that led to all the bedrooms. So we're talking, and I just so happened to glance over my mother's shoulder, and that's when I saw the Hat Man. If you don't know what the Hat Man is, just look up pictures because you can't miss it. And at the time I had never heard or seen anything like this, but I look over her shoulder, and it was in the hallway entryway, peeking from around the corner. A tall, dark shadow. You cannot see through it, and it had a large brimmed hat on. I froze, and my mom immediately noticed that something was wrong, with my face, and she goes, "What is it?" She turns around and she looks back at me and she's like, "What is that?" And so I immediately am like, "Oh my gosh, she sees it too. I'm not the only person seeing this thing." So now we both are looking at it, and it's just standing there. It won't move. It's not like one of those times where, oh, I just saw something at the corner of my eye. It was there, and it was staying there, and it stood there for, I swear, about 30 seconds. It was there, and then it just slowly backed out of view into the hallway. As soon as that thing was gone, I jumped up out of my seat, and both me and my mother go over there, and we open every single door in that hallway, and there's absolutely nobody. There's no one there. My dad was working at a late shift, and my sister was at our grandparents' house sleeping over. We both saw it, and to this day, we both still talk about it. It's stayed with me to this day. It's one thing that I cannot shake off, and I know I'm not the only one who's seen it.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
So it's 2022, and I'm staying at my friend's house, and they have the whole downstairs to their parents' house to themselves. It's like their little apartment. They have their own bedroom, their own living room, kitchen, and I was staying the night, and I had made a little pallet in the floor because they didn't have an extra bed. And I could have slept on the couch, but I thought I had more room because I'm a tall guy. So I slept on the floor, and I was lying right in front of their bedroom, so I could see their bedroom door from where I was lying on the floor. And so in front of me was their bedroom, and then to the side of their bedroom was the kitchen entrance. I fell asleep that night, and then randomly in the middle of the night, I couldn't tell you what time it was. Usually I wake up at about like 7 o'clock to like use the bathroom or something. So it was probably like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark outside at this time. So I woke up, and I saw a shadow man standing at the foot of my pallet on the floor. He was bald, he was shorter. Um, I could make out that he was wearing glasses in my memory. I might be making that up, but I believe he was wearing glasses. Um, but for sure he was bald, he was shorter, he was thin, he was he gave me older, like the presence felt older, like an older man. And he was facing away from me. He was facing the kitchen. So he was standing in front of their door, but facing the kitchen. And they had dogs that were just roaming around. Like I could hear their little paws and I could see this thing. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes and hope that I'm just making this up. So I closed my eyes and then I looked again, still was standing there. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to calm myself down. I'm going to go to sleep. Because if you open your eyes, you're going to see it like crawling towards you or something. Because I was like, I'm not about to fuck with that. So I was like, just go to sleep, just go to sleep. And I don't think I ever fell asleep, but I kept my eyes closed. I was not looking. And as my eyes were closed, I heard it go, as if it was calling one of the dogs. And that sent shivers down my spine. I don't like it. I still don't like it. I still don't like thinking about it. Anyways, so I wake up the next morning and I tell my friends about it. And my friend swole up in tears. Like, she didn't start crying, but she was like on the verge of crying. She said, I think that was my grandfather, because of the description that I gave her. Like, it was a shorter, bald, thinner man. And she said that, you know, her grandfather was the same description of that. And yeah, so it was a very wild experience to see that. I didn't feel, I want to say this, I didn't feel any negative energy. You know, usually with something like that, you would assume that you would feel fear. I did feel fear because I was seeing something like I shouldn't be seeing, but also I didn't feel threatened or anything. So he just stood there and he wasn't facing towards me, but my brain was like, something's gonna happen. I'm scared, you know? But he wasn't facing towards me. He was facing the kitchen, and then he just at the dogs. And my friends were asleep, by the way. I feel like I'm all over the place telling this story, but my friends were asleep. So nobody was awake except for me in that moment. And so they wouldn't be making that noise, you know. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. And someone's knocking at the door. Perfect time.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, I have to share one of the craziest experiences that I've ever had in my life. I have so many ghost stories, but this one is one of the craziest. So this happened when I was in middle school. I was probably about 13 or 14, and it happened with my two best friends at the time. Let's call them C and K. So this night in particular, we were all staying at C's house, and it was the middle of December, and her family, her mom and dad and her little brother, were off at a wedding an hour away from where we were. So, just like typical teenage girls, we loved watching horror movies together, so we decided this night we would watch The Ring for the first time together. When we watched movies at C's house, we would always watch them downstairs in the basement. That was just the hangout spot whenever we were over there. In this basement, when you would walk directly down the stairs, you would enter into the living room where we would watch movies. On the back wall, there was one couch. On the opposite wall of the staircase, there was another couch. In front was the TV, and directly to the left of the staircase was a storage room door. When we started watching the movie, I was sitting in an office chair directly in front of the storage room door, C was sitting on the couch directly on the back wall, and K was sitting on the couch across from the staircase. We get probably a quarter to a halfway through the movie when the storage room door behind me that was closed slowly creaks open, slams shut, and slowly creaks open again. All three of us screamed, and we all ran over to the couch where Kay was sitting. For some reason, it didn't cross any of our minds to even go and check into the storage room to see if anything was in there. So we all just curled up on that couch together and put a blanket over us and called it good. We continued watching the movie, and at one point, I distinctly remember all three of us sitting in a row, texting on our flip phones to who knows who. At that moment, while all three of us were mid-text, all of the power in the entire house, including all three of our cell phones, goes out and turns off. As we are sitting there bewildered and confused to what is going on, all of the power and our phones turn back on, and C's mom runs down the stairs asking if we're okay. We thought nothing of this and just told her, yeah, we're okay, we don't know what happened, and she went back upstairs. Don't ask me why, but for some reason we decided to finish the movie, and at this point it's probably 11 p.m., so it's time to take Kay home. At this age, we just walked everywhere we would go, so we were just going to walk Kay home this night, since she only lived about 10 blocks away from C's, and then I was going to spend the night with C. We all get our coats on and get our shoes on and walk upstairs to go let C's parents know that we're going to be walking Kay home. When we get upstairs, there is nobody in the house. It is dead silent. All three of us are so confused because her mom just ran down the stairs a few minutes ago asking us if we were okay. When we get outside, we see that it is a snowstorm outside and there's a fresh layer of snow on the ground. C's parents' truck was not home and there was no footprints in the snow whatsoever. They did not come home from the wedding yet. As weird as this was to us, we didn't think twice about it and continued walking Kay home. On our way to Kay's house, we were walking down the main street and there was a runner coming towards us. So all three of us split the way, let the runner go by, turned around. There was nobody there. After we got Kay safely to our house, C and I booked it home. We booked it as fast as we could, ran inside, locked those doors, and tried our best to get a good night's sleep. Since that day, nobody can pay me enough to watch The Ring again or mess with anything to do with The Ring. After this experience, there is no way.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a very quick, very crazy story about. It's not as crazy as some of the other people's here, but it's unnerving to me. So I was in my freshman year of college. This is 2002, and I had lost my keys. And my university is an older, smaller Catholic university in Northern Virginia. And the rumors are that before the building that my dorm was in was built, there was a family graveyard, and the university only moved the headstones but left everything else. I don't really believe it, but you never know. So my freshman year, my roommate and I were staying up late and watching a movie because I thought I had lost my keys, and we were a little interested to see if somebody found my keys or whatever. So we're in bed. We both have loft beds. It's important to the story. And we see and hear the doorknob go and like shake. And my roommate leaps out of her bed like perfectly and lands like a professional athlete and opens that door so fast. There is nobody, no one in that hallway at all. Zero. So fast forward to sophomore year, same roommate and I decide we are going to live in an older building that is attached to the main house, which is original to the land. It's also where the nuns live. Just saying. So one night she goes out to another campus, like another building on campus, and is hanging out with a friend. But she leaves her stuff, like her ID card, her phone, keys, on her desk. And you need your ID card to access the floors because there's security doors. And these are heavy, like steel doors. So I figure I'm just going to keep an ear out for her, no big deal, right? And so I'm in bed watching like TLC at this point, and it is probably 12:30 maybe, and I hear dun 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 on the door, the steel door. So I get up and walk the very short distance from my dorm room to that door, and I opened up. There's no living person there. There's nothing there. So I'm like, oh, I'm hearing things. So I go back to my room, and as I'm starting to close the door, dun 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 dun, and then a faster dun 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 dun. So I go, oh, come on, okay. So I go back, open the door, no one's there. I go onto the landing, and I like look around. It's a two-story building, and it's now very close to 1 in the morning. Nobody's there. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not answering the door anymore. Hope she likes sleeping on stairs. No, I would never leave her on the stairs. But I go back to the room, close the door, and I am now like terrified, slightly, because I've had experiences my whole life. This really wasn't that big of a deal. And then starts the running. Something is running up and down the hall, very like loudly up and down the hall, and it sounds like it's like hard, like heavy footfalls. But what comes with it is also this like garbled, echoey laughter and like talking. And it almost sounds like it's two people talking and running, but you only hear one set of footsteps, but it's like the breathing and the. So I open the door to my dorm room because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I look out, and there's nobody in the hallway. At this point, it is now almost 2 in the morning, and I walk out of my room, and I kind of walk down to the end of the hallway and kind of like look into the other part of the hallway, and there's nobody there. And it's a small dorm room, like dorm building, so it's very easy to tell. And these are very old doors, so they kind of stick when you open them, and so you can hear dorms opening and closing if somebody's coming in and out. And there was like none of that. And so I go back to my room, close the door, lock the door. Probably 5, 6 more times. The running and the talking. And wouldn't you know it, my roommate did not come home that night. But I told her about it the next day, and she was so bummed that she missed out on this because we loved like the spooky stuff and everything. And like I said, I'd had experiences like my whole life. And, this campus has like kind of a weird energy to it, and there's a lot of ghost stories. And the ghost story for that particular floor was about a girl who had herself, very tragically, many, many years before I became a student there, in one of the dorm rooms on that hallway, not mine. And that this girl liked to mess with people by honestly helping people by organizing their loose change on their dressers. Now, she never cleaned my dresser for me, but other people came home a few times to stacks of coins that were not stacked prior to that. It's also important to note that nobody was out in the hallways at all at 2 in the morning, because each dorm room is attached to a bathroom and then another dorm room, so no one needed to get out into the hallway to go to the bathroom. So it was very weird. The talking was very unnerving. The running up and down was the most audible activity I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. But I think that comes with the territory with older universities. So I have more ghost stories from there, and just more ghost stories in general. But those are the ones I'm going to share right now.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So I have a lot of ghost stories that I could tell. I have grown up with a lot of experiences. I've lived in many different places, and I'd like to think that I'm a little sensitive to energies and the things around me. But one ghost story that really stuck out to me happened about 9 years ago. I had been with my boyfriend for about 6 months, and he had just gotten an apartment, and my lease was about to be up in my apartment, so I decided to move in with him. And right from the get-go, I could sense something about this house, this apartment, everything about it. I mean, the place was very old, it was falling apart. It was in a, kind of a bad part of the neighborhood. I did my very best to try to make the apartment our own. We actually repainted every room. I deep cleaned the carpets. I deep cleaned everything, even the hallways of the house, because it was that bad. But right when I moved in, I started to notice things. Like, it would always feel like somebody was watching you, especially if I was sitting in the living room. There was like an opening window to the kitchen, and it always felt like somebody was watching me, to where I actually thought I saw a man standing in the kitchen one day. And I tried to brush it off, but me knowing me, having these, being able to sense these energies, I kind of just played it off as like, somebody's here and this is somebody's house, but I'm just gonna move on, whatever. Weird things would happen all the time, especially things going missing. I remember one specific thing being bananas off the counter just completely disappeared, and my boyfriend asking me, like, where did the bananas go? You're allergic to bananas, so why would you even take the bananas? Like, just gone. I had earrings that I had put on the counter one night, and only one earring was there the next day, and still to this day I have not been able to find those earrings. And they were big feather earrings, just random things going on, seeing shadows, whatever. So I kind of knew, I'm like, something's in this house. From my past, I had known, like, it's better to speak to the spirits out loud, kind of like, I understand this is your house, I respect you, I'm not trying to disrespect you in any way, like, we're going to share the space. And I remember speaking out loud and just being, open. Well, I was in college at the time, and I was taking a psychology class, and I had sat next to this girl, and we, occasionally talked. Well, one day she had asked me if she had seen me in Rockville. Like, she saw my car and she thought she saw me, and she even named the road that this apartment was on. And I said, yeah, actually, I just moved in with my boyfriend there. And she was like, well, have you heard what happened in that house? And I'm like, no. Like, I haven't been in this area for very long, so I didn't really know anything about the town or the people. Well, she was like, well, quite a few years ago, I had driven home with my mom from school, and the entire road was blocked off with caution tape. There was multiple police vehicles there. There was an ambulance there. Like, news stations were there, like it was this huge deal. And it took her a while to get to her house in that time. And I guess after that had happened, her mother had heard the story that in that house, that apartment building, somebody had passed away. Well, I went home being curious and wanting to know, so I looked this up. She had given me the year it had happened, and I looked up the address, and it popped up right away. An article there speaking about a man who was found in his apartment who, himself. And so looking further into him and what had happened, I had found out that he was a very lonely man, and he's probably, I want to say, like in his 40s, maybe even younger. He had no wife, he had no children, he had no family that was really like close to him or known of him. He was a very dedicated worker and actually worked for, I want to say, like AT&T or some phone company, and that he didn't show up to work for multiple days, and so they were worried about him. So they called for a well check visit, and so they had gone to check on him, and they actually had to kick the door in because it was locked. Well, when I had moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, I had questioned why there was such a large crack down the front door. And that had made so much sense. And looking further into the information I had found, it had turned out he had lived in our apartment. So the shadows and the things I was hearing, I began to realize was him. Well, in a sense, it definitely scared me, but I almost also felt like a sense of relief, like, okay, I kind of know, like, who's residing in this house, and it's not somebody dangerous or, like a demon or anything. So we had lived there a little longer, and I tried my best to be very respectful of him and the house, but the apartment was so tiny, and a slumlord owned it, nothing was getting repaired, and I was over it. So we had decided to move to a larger place. Well, our last night there, we had, packed everything up, cleaned the apartment, pretty, apparent that it was our last night. And my boyfriend and I were laying in bed, and it was silent. And all of a sudden, we both just heard, plain as day, a man just speak in our room. And we couldn't understand what he had said. It was very mumbled, but it was clear as day, a man's voice. And I didn't say anything, and my boyfriend turned to me and goes, "Did you hear that? Like, somebody just spoke." And I mean, to this day, I just remember that whole apartment. I remember the whole vibe. I remember finding out about that story and how it had an effect on me. And to me, I almost felt like he was sad that we were leaving because I had put so much, respect, and I don't know, I acknowledged him and how he might have felt in that time. And it just has stuck to me from this day.
Well, this concludes another night of letting complete strangers on the internet terrify us for free. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all of the channel members because y'all are the real MVPs, as I always say. Y'all keep the candles lit, the vibes high, and just the energy right. And I appreciate y'all for that. If you have a creepy encounter of your own, whether it's unexplainable phenomenons, hoodoo horrors, or things moving around in your house like it's a poltergeist, we want to hear about it here on the channel. So make sure that you check out the description of this video so you can find out how to submit your creepy story to be featured on the next episode of the Mystic Files podcast. Because when I say some of the entries that you guys have sent me, I'm editing 2 podcast episodes right now. The shenanigans is wild, and I'm here for it. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here so I can edit this one and hopefully push a second video up for you guys today. So to all of my haunted hunts and hotties, sleep tight. Or don't. I'm not your mama. But be sure to drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. And as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another video for you guys if the spirits allow it.